Hey, what is going on, you guys? AK-40 Kevin here in the gamer heaven, and Microsoft just did its official Xbox first-party game showcase, which showcased some really good titles that we were pretty much knew were going to come out, that we were all somewhat excited for. I guess, you know, like the Halo Infinite and Forza and stuff like that, as well as a couple new titles that nobody really saw coming. So I've compiled this into a little bit shorter video documentary, and we're just going to go ahead and cover the key points there. As the event was rather long, and I don't think anybody has the patience online to sit through a long video like that. So, without further ado, let's jump right into this shit. Alright, so we're going to start this excursion with Halo Infinite, which in my opinion is probably the biggest title for the Series X exclusive-wise.
Halo Infinite has been built from the ground up to take full advantage of
eventually it is going to be on
X.
Windows 10 PC,
Bigger
though.
battles,
Just putting
epic
that
vistas, more complex visual effects, displayed with 10 times the processing power per pixel of Halo 5. This
That's
will
pretty
be running at
fucking
a
huge.
flawless 60 frames per second.
So they went with the 4K 60 frames per second as opposed to something like 1440 or 1080p at something like 120 frames per second. I don't necessarily think that that was the best decision because it is a first-person shooter, and considering it is going to have competitive multiplayer, frames per second or refresh rate or monitor hertz, that's more important than resolution. 1080p games still look pretty goddamn good, and when it comes to competitive first-person shooters or even a story-driven first-person shooter campaign, frame rate's generally more important. 60 frames per second is better than what we're getting on current consoles right now with like 30 frames per second, 60 on some titles, but, you know.
And will allow us to bring the Halo ring to life in ways that have never been possible before. We look forward to sharing even more about Halo Infinite in the coming months, including the first look at multiplayer.
World premiere.
Told you guys there would be multiplayer. So I thought this was Deer Hunter 3 by Cabela. It looked like this young lady's going on a nice winter hunt. So I don't think this is fact-based at all. Deers are wonderful, peaceful creatures. They're not this aggressive, so...
Welcome, everyone.
Looks and sounds like my first girlfriend.
Showcase. Today, we're...
For those of you who don't know who Phil Spencer is, he's the he's the face of Xbox. He's like the CEO. So when you think of like Apple, you think of Steve Jobs, God rest his soul. Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg. Phil Spencer is the middle-aged dad bod behind Microsoft Xbox.
showing games from 9 of our 15 Xbox game studios.
What happened to the other 6 of them?
Unveils
They were busy?
5 new
Long night
first-party
last
games.
night?
We believe that how you find and play your games is as important as the device you play them on. Xbox Game Pass is the best way to discover and play.
Rip
And
off,
we
excuse
want
me.
you to be able to experience as many great games as possible.
I'm just saying that because I don't do
So
subscription
Game Pass
services like
members,
PS Now or
you
Game
can
Pass.
play every game you see today, from your subscription or free to.
Not to mention, streaming games is incredibly taxing. You have to have very, very good internet and also just a great connection between your device and the cloud. So I would rather just have a digital or physical copy of my games. Just
These
saying.
games will look and play best on Xbox Series X. And we've designed the most consistently powerful next generation console. And we've built state-of-the-art platform technology to allow every developer to realize their full vision. One studio that has always pushed the limits of our hardware is Turn.
Yes!
And they're early in
Very smart
development on
move.
the
They
next
had to make a
Forza
Forza game.
And
I mean,
Xbox Series
Forza,
X
Gears of War,
is bringing them
and
closer
Halo
to
are
their
the
dream
3 titles that
of
you think of with
unprecedented
Xbox.
realism, with ray tracing and native 4K resolution.
So that is going to be a big thing too, is ray tracing. So when you engage ray tracing, it drops your frames per second and your console performance or PC by about 30 to 60 frames per second. When I turn ray tracing on my GTX 2060 Super graphics card on my PC, it drops my frame rate by like 30 or 40 frames per second, but it does look a lot better. So if you don't have a TV or a monitor that actually supports full HDR, like Dolby Vision, then I would just leave ray tracing off for you because you're not going to see the difference anyway, and it's going to suffer your frames per second.
At 60 frames per second.
And again, fucking motherfuckers, dude. So shooting games and racing games have very fast-paced motion. Racing, there's a ton of cars on screen, you know, all whipping the track and stuff like that. You want a high frames per second because it makes it look a lot more fluid and natural. So I don't know why they wouldn't just go with like 1440 or a very polished 1080 with ray tracing and then like 120 frames per second. That would be more valuable for these games than 4K 60. That's just my opinion, but it's the right opinion.
Give to you a magical and
holy shit, who the fuck is this?
World for you to explore and to just truly lose yourself in. The team here at Rare are so excited to be working on something like Everwild, and I hope you're excited too.
It doesn't matter that they don't believe us.
We all believed that what happened that night was self-defense.
All right, so this is a new game sponsored by Cartoon Network.
Excited to tell you that we're
just kidding, I don't think it is, but
very special version of Ori and the Will of the Wisps, specifically for Xbox Series X. We're now at a time where we can reach levels of fidelity and frame rates previously absolutely impossible on any console.
I like that he's talking about frame rates. This guy has a bigger schmeckle than any of the previous developers.
An already gorgeous game like Ori can now run at 120 Hz refresh rate.
There we go.
Full 4K HDR.
See, some games can run 4K at 120, but again, this isn't a graphically taxing title. It's more of a cartoony, you know, it's not cel-shaded, but it's more of an animated, you know, Pixar kind of look than something like Forza or Halo, which is going for realistic graphics, which take a lot more resources from the hardware. So they probably do have to choose, you know, 60 frames 4K or, you know, 100 at 1440 or 120 at 1080. And, you know, that should be selectable by the player. In the options, you should be able to choose to optimize your gameplay for frames per second or resolution depending on your monitor and your gaming preferences.
In its highest quality, delivering unprecedented game feel with silky smooth animation.
This actually does look really good.
Sharp image.
Not my game style, but
latency, which is just so important for the tight and precise platforming feel of this game.
At Obsidian, we're dedicated to pushing narrative and role-playing games. It's something we do every day when we come to the office, and we can't wait for you to play our next great adventure, Peril on Gorgon.
Full of salacious secrets and scandalous strangers.
Scandalous.
Attractive patron. You are
okay, so it's a Fallout 4 knockoff.
Now, it's also important that we continue.
So that looks like Fallout 4 had a baby with Borderlands 3.
And Grounded is the perfect example of that. The team has been working for the last 2 years on how to tell an Obsidian story within a...
So I've covered this game, I believe, in the past on my channel. It looks kind of whack. I mean, it's got a lot of hype around it and stuff, but again, it's going to be another one of those Xbox exclusives that just sucks a fat meat, like Sea of Thieves and Quantum Break. They've had a lot of stinkers. It's not like PlayStation where like 90% of their exclusives are absolute bangers, like Uncharted and, you know, Spider-Man and God of War and stuff like that. Yeah, we had a little letdown with Last of Us 2. You know, but like Ghost of Tsushima is absolutely fantastic. I'm playing that right now. I've been streaming it. By the way, check me out at twitch.tv/AK40Kevin. I cannot multi-stream that one to Facebook Gaming as well because that's directly from my console, not from my PC. So it has to be on my Twitch. So if you want to check it out, watch me slit some throats and sink some boats, I'll be over there. But yeah, this game, you are shrunken down, so kind of a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids thing, and you're stuck in this, you know, plant wilderness kind of thing, and you fight bugs and you build. So it's Fortnite knockoff building and then fighting bugs as a bunch of shrunken down kids. I just saved you $60. You're welcome. Actually, 70 because new gen consoles are going to be $69.99 for games.
Game. Now, what's great is that you're going to be able to play the game on July 28th. On Xbox Game Preview and on Steam Early Access. We want to hear from you and we want to continue to build Grounded together. Oh yeah, if you've been wondering, we have been working on that next big Obsidian RPG. Check this out.
Avowed is an expansive first-person RPG set in the fantasy world of Eora. When Obsidian Entertainment...
Why does this dude's voice sound like Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
It's like, you gotta check this game out, dude. It's fucking crazy. You got a sword in one hand, you got a fucking purple schmagma on the other. It's crazy, dude.
Joined Xbox Game Studios. They told us that
he's like Charlie if he smoked like 2 packs a day.
Is the one they want to make. As creators of critically acclaimed RPGs, this is Obsidian at their best. At Xbox
Yeah, it's pretty
Game
crazy,
Studios,
dude.
We also work with independent
That
developers.
hurt my throat.
Always with the goal of empowering them to.
Dude, I don't know if it's his face or his clothes selection or what, but if I ran into this dude in a dark alley, I would about face and walk away post haste. He looks, especially because what he's doing with his mouth right now because of where I paused it. He's got a predatorial vibe to him.
Their ideas to life. I'm excited to announce our work with Interior Night, a
Yeah,
new
dude.
studio led by some of the most talented storytellers in our industry.
Yeah.
Our team is really passionate about interactive storytelling because when you play a story,
Okay, this
you
is
step into the
cel-shaded.
character's shoes. You get to experience their fears, their hopes, their conflicts firsthand, and in the process, you learn more about yourself.
Oh, this looks wild.
Our first game spans 30 years in the American Southwest. It's a story about family, resilience, and sacrifice. But
I
most
really
of
love
all,
the graphical
it's
style of this
about
game. I
how
really
you
do.
will
Very
shape the
unique.
fate of real, flawed people.
It almost looks like real life, but it's animated, like, you know, art, hand art. It looks fucking
Trying to
bomb.
find their way in a world they don't fit in.
Here at Ninja Theory, we're hard at work on all of our projects, including Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, which we announced at the Game Awards back in December. An incredible 3.5 million players have now experienced Senua's story in Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. We're excited to start giving you an insight.
Oh,
into
I thought
what
this was
comes
Diablo
next for
4.
our
I must be in the
chosen
wrong
warrior.
studio.
An experience that we'll
Ooh.
be building in Unreal Engine 5 for Xbox Series X and PC. And you can find out more about our location scouting and
That
how
looks like a
we've
good game for the
discovered
kids.
history of our
I think
setting
Sally and Johnny would really
in a
enjoy that
brand
one.
new behind-the-scenes development diary, which you can view straight after the show on the Ninja Theory YouTube channel.
Get comfortable. Oh, something to compete with Ratchet and Clank. Sweet.
Neither skin nor bone.
Was that Jack Black? If he's been day drinking for like 3 months straight?
Now my covers blow.
Wait, is that really
I'm
Jack
thrilled
Black?
to announce that this fall, our friends at Bungie will bring Destiny
Whoops.
2 to Xbox Series X and Xbox Game Pass. If you are
So that is something I'm very excited about. I actually get into little spurts or phases where I start playing Destiny 2 again, and I never am let down by it. It's always fun doing raids with your friends and just exploring some of the beautiful environments. It's a good game. I love Destiny 1. I think Destiny 2 improved on a lot of the story, or lack of. There was no story in Destiny 1. It was a fucking jumbled mess, but a good game. And I think the fact that they're going to have this, you know, supported on the next-gen consoles with enhanced graphics and frames per second, it's going to help.
one of the more than 10 million Game Pass subscribers, you also get access to all current Destiny 2 expansions starting this September. For Game Pass Ultimate members,
Good.
Destiny 2 will also be playable on mobile from the cloud. Later this year, Bungie will also release a new version.
Look at
of
that
Destiny
focus in
2.
her eyes,
It
dude. She is like
optimized for
serious about
Xbox
it.
Series X, 4K resolution running at 60 frames per second.
Hell yeah.
Here's an all-new look at Bungie's Destiny 2 Beyond
Woo,
Light.
60 frames. What PC's been doing for 10 years. Hell yeah.
Every moment brings them closer. It's time to step beyond the light.
All of the games you're about to see are being built to launch exclusively on Xbox consoles.
I don't know whose mom that is, but tell her I said what's up. Oh, that thing's cute.
I'll know more when they make it back.
Alright, this is the new Frogger. Wait, no way that was Tetris. This is Tetris. That was confusing. It's amazing that a game like Tetris can... It's been around for like 40 years, since like the Game Boy original. I had the old big gray Game Boy, if that tells you how old I am. It's amazing that game is still relevant. It's literally just dropping blocks into position, but it's addictive, and you put some banging ass fucking electronic behind it, and then you're like, oh yeah, dude. All right, another horror game. It's either Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Outlast. Whoa. All right, that looks pretty good. Oh, yeah, Pokemon sold the rights. Nintendo sold the rights to Pokemon. This isn't Pokemon.
17 seconds.
Today, you saw 10 world
Oh,
premieres
jeez.
and 22
There he is again, boys.
console launch
Lock up your
exclusives.
girlfriends, lock up
Game
your
Pass
wives.
members can play every game you have seen today from Xbox Game Studios and all of our partners in the subscription or free to play. This is just a peek at some of
It's not free to play because you're paying for the subscription service of Game Pass. Nice try there,
the
Brad.
new titles coming to Xbox Series X. And some of the games you already love and some you have yet to play will also be optimized for Xbox Series X. Games like Forza Horizon 4, Gears 5, and Sea of Thieves.
Oh, dude, you didn't have to mention Sea of Thieves. You don't have to point out some of your past stinkers. Like, it'd be like, you can play Anthem today on the Series X.
The
It's
next
not
gen
helping your
upgrades
case.
at no additional cost when they launch.
Get
You
Fallout
can expect a
76
lineup
as a
of
launch
over
title.
100 titles for Xbox Series X this holiday season. With Series X and Game Pass, Xbox is the place to play, and you are at the center of everything
Me?
we do.
That's just good marketing, dude. You're pulling on the human emotion heartstrings there. All right, so here's my take on this whole shindig here. I think it was a solid event. I'll have a link in the description below to the full streamed event if you want to watch that, like, 3-hour event or whatever. I just gave you all the key points that you need right there. So, Halo Infinite looks pretty goddamn good. I think they should have gone with at least an option to run a higher frames per second at the sacrifice of a little bit of resolution, but that's just my opinion. I do think some of these unique titles that have kind of a cel-shaded comic book graphic style look really, really good and interesting because a lot of games are very, very similar nowadays. Like, modern titles are just all very, very the same. They're very generic, cookie-cutter games. Like, they change a couple aspects here and there, but they're all either, just a first-person shooter. They might throw in some special magic abilities like BioShock or something like that. BioShock was, like, one of the first games to do that, though. Or they're like racing games. I mean, you can't really do much with the racing genre. It is what it is. You can't really change much there besides bump up the graphics and shit like that. But, yeah, dudes, I think that this was a pretty solid event. It's a lot better than that event they had about 2 months ago where they showed off third-party titles. They kept promising gameplay, and there was no gameplay. It was all just 3D rendered title, or it was all just trailers and 3D rendered in-game engine demos. They were not like actual gameplay demos, and they kept saying like, oh, you're gonna see Valhalla, you're gonna see the new Assassin's Creed, and then it was just like a trailer. It had no real gameplay. That was a stinky event. I don't know what they were thinking over there with that one, but this actually had some pretty good first party games, so that's exciting for people on the Microsoft side. Generally, this is what my opinion's been and continues to be, is that Xbox has more powerful consoles. The Xbox One X is 30% more powerful than a PS5 Pro, and the Series X is going to be about 15 to 25% more powerful than a PS5. But exclusives-wise, which I think matters almost more, because if you want sheer power, build yourself a gaming PC. What really matters is like the content, the software that actually makes use of the hardware of the console. And PlayStation does really good exclusives. Yeah, there's a couple ones that weren't great, but for the most part, they have some really, really, really good exclusives. And basically, when you think of Xbox, you think of Forza, Gears of War, and Halo. So I think that's good that they're going to have all three of those. Gears, there's not one that's specifically for Series X. They're just bumping up Gears 5, but Halo Infinite is going to be kind of a Series X exclusive for a while. Eventually, I do feel like they're going to port that over to the Windows 10, so it's not really going to be an exclusive anymore because it's on PC, which will probably perform even better. you know, if you have a really high-end PC, because these consoles are comparable to a high-end PC, like a mid-high, just a fucking high-end PC. They're very, very powerful. So price to performance, you can't really beat them. But I do feel like there's some really good titles coming out on the Xbox side, and that's good. That's a good thing, because that keeps it competitive between Sony and Microsoft, so they are encouraged to keep releasing progressive titles. So that is very good. And, you know, I am getting both consoles. At least I plan to, unless something happens that doesn't allow me to. But that's my plan currently, is to get a Series X and a digital only or non-optical drive PS5. So, yeah, that's going to do it. Peace.